But boys, let's start with the news of the day. Dave Portnoy, bottom of 5-star. Hey, boys?
Oh, boy,
Sure
did he
did.
ever. Holy shit, dude.
$10.5 million. Bryce Underwood flips his commitment. The 5-star quarterback, number one quarterback, pretty on consensus rankings. The 6'5", 230-pounder out of Michigan, just outside of Detroit, flips his commitment LSU to Michigan.
The funny part about Dave Portnoy is he puts this little video out today, and he's like, "Now I know everybody's asking, like, Dave, how much influence did you have on this?" He's like, "I'm not going to get into the details of this," like trying to act like he maybe didn't have anything to do with it. But dude is wearing like a jeweled crown and has this gold staff in his hand. Like, this dude had everything to do with it feels like.
He clearly wants people to know that I had something to do with this without explicitly saying I was the one that this happened.
Well, he offered $3 million annually to donate to Michigan's NIL fund specifically for a 5-star quarterback. Ironically enough, $10.5 million over 4 is just under $3 million. So it sounds like he got himself a bargain.
Holy shit.
Well, sounds like that bargain might be going elsewhere.
What's up?
There's a UMass super fan in the chat.
Huh?
This is
There's such thing as UMass superfans?
There's a UMass super fan in the chat right now.
Like, what are we talking about? Like, a level of super fanness. Are we talking about like a UMass fan that's been to every single UMass game over the last several years? Were you at that screen shaker between UMass and New Mexico State earlier in the year? If so, I got to meet you Saturday. If you're one of these guys that travels around with UMass, we got to get a photo.
For real. I didn't mean to derail the segment. Like,
Oh, no, go ahead. That's
that was
worthy.
shocking.
one of our members is doing a tremendous bit right now.
You think so? I kind of want to believe
You think
it's a super
that there's
fan.
a UMass fan out there that was already a member of the Film Guy Network?
Nah, dude.
Good on them, though,
It's
because
a
this member absolutely gets this show.
I love
He
it.
absolutely understands
I
what's
love a
going on.
commenter
the
that gets the
mustache?
show. Anyways, back to the Bryce Underwood story. I've been trying to – he's getting a lot of Cam Newton comparisons. I understand that one. That makes a lot of sense. I think there's a tremendous amount of passing development that this young man has to go through just for the stance that he hasn't ripped it a bunch. Mechanically, it's clean. For a 6'5" guy that is as long and as lanky and as athletic as this guy is, his mechanics exceptionally clean. He just hadn't chunked it a bunch in the high school level right now, in the high school ranks. I don't think Michigan's ever going to ask him to chunk it a bunch. Historically, they don't. So it's a good matchup and a good mix from that standpoint. Here's what I love about Bryce Underwood. Everything I see, everything I know about this individual, he loves to compete his ass off. And when you give someone this many God-given talents from a height, weight, speed standpoint, ability to throw the football, you give me an ultra-competitive individual, I like the makeup. That's what I like.
Well, I think, too, like everyone wants to question the talent level that he's playing against in high school. That's fine. That's open for criticism, as it always is for every player that plays down to that level. But the thing about Bryce Underwood is the traits of everything that he has. What is noticeable every time he steps out on the football field and the things that you can't coach, he has all of that. I mean, anything and everything, the size, the arm strength, the athletic ability, he has it all. And that stuff does translate to the college level. Like, you can refine some of the things that you need, or maybe he needs to adjust to the college level once he gets there, as do most high school athletes. That's all fine. But the stuff that you can't coach, he has, and he has it like 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that Michigan's kind of gone in a direction where they need a major boost. They need some help just because of everything that's happened with the mass exodus. You've got a potential scandal. You've got a scandal, but you've got potential suspensions coming down the block here. This could be a guy that really turns his program around for the better. So,
and like I said, I think it's a great stylistic fit for the way they play offense. Best case, you got like an elite athlete that can actually throw the football.
yeah.
Worst case scenario, you've got a much, much, much better version of Alex Orji.
Well,
if the passing game never develops, you've got a football player that can still at least spin it at a really high rate.
Is there a worst case scenario where the NCAA comes down with their suspensions and their rulings? And then he says, all right, well, I can't make a postseason here. I'm not going to be able to do anything at Michigan. I'm going to transfer out. Do you think that could be worst case scenario?
I mean, if we start talking about like NCAA sanctions, like you can't participate in a playoff type of vibe, he probably transfers out, but not for a pay cut. Like this is a lot of money, man. LSU people that I've been reading today have said that it was double the offer that and look, the $10.5 million was the last reported. And after that $10.5 million was reported about a week ago, I mean, I think it was 10 days ago. He was on LSU, or he was on Instagram kind of trolling Michigan with some LSU official photos. So who's to say it didn't get bumped?
Yeah, I mean, he's probably making going to be more than what the numbers were expected to be, or they're just a bluff and the entire thing he's not making that much. But you'd have to believe that with everything that's coming down potentially for Michigan, for him to flip here, there was definitely some cheddar involved.
Have you seen the videos of him getting interviewed? I think it's Crane and Company at the On3 Elite Series event. Have you seen the videos of him getting interviewed? He was asked about Michigan and the potential. This is back in July during the On3 Elite Series. They were talking to him about, why not the home state school? Because David Cohn, their executive producer, is a big, Michigan guy, played there. And he basically says, like, who do they develop at quarterback? They've never developed a quarterback. And it was kind of that. And I guess you can buy your way out of a lot of things.
Sure. Absolutely. Money talks.
Buy your way out of a lot
Money
of things.
talks louder than anything.
Just interesting. I think it's going to work out, though, for sure. Hopefully. I want to see it work out. Anybody that's this talented and this fun to watch, I'm telling you, the high school, he doesn't have a junior tape out right now, I don't believe, or a senior tape out right now. The clips that I have found, you have to go watch like full game highlights from some dude on the sideline shooting with a 4K Nikon. All right. And when you watch this stuff, you'll see he's playing with the best team in the conference against some guys that ain't very good. He's got several weapons around him, a couple of good offensive linemen, but he's the team. Like he totes the ball 17, 18 times a game. He throws it 16, 17 times a game, and he's the best player on the football field. But what I was fascinated by was to watch a 5-star quarterback that's about to make anywhere north of $11 million, $10.5 million in college football out here flipping over playing safety in tight football games. Again, dog, absolute dog, competes his ass off, talks his shit, extremely talented football player. Excited to see what it looks like on the college ranks. Guys, not a lot of momentum on the recruiting front right now for LSU, despite the fact that they still have a top 10 class. This dropped them from number 3 to number 6 today. I don't know if this is the last decommitment from the LSU Tigers.
Shoot, I mean, minutes after Bryce Underwood commits to Michigan, Derek Meadows, the 4-star, some would say 5-star wide receiver, gets forecasted to flip to Michigan.
Oof. This is bad for Brian Kelly because, I mean, it's not a stretch to say that the season you've had in 2024 has been disappointing. To follow that up with a disappointing class in 2025 where it's still a solid class. There's still a lot of talent there, but a lot of the players that you thought you were going to be able to get, you don't end up getting. That's a disappointing class. So things could get kind of warm for Brian Kelly very quickly.
And you're losing football games.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Ugly. Not great.
No. How long does he have of this before it's like, all right, get out of here?
I mean,
because like the
guys,
last,
I think we got it. I'm not the one who has to stroke these checks for these buyouts, but they still owe him $62 million. So says the chat. I think unless you have oil money like Texas A&M, what'd they give Jimbo? 72 to walk away?
Close to 80, yeah.
They gave him close to $80 million to walk away. And that was the record by $60 million, wasn't it? Or $40 million, $50 million? They like completely reset the market for world's record buyout. And we know what's coming down the track. And it ain't a mean machine in red and black. We know what's coming down the track. What it is $20 million annually coming out of these football budgets and coming out. It's the athletic budget, but we all know what that means. When we talk about college athletic budgets, we talking about the college football dollars that get put into the athletic administrations. That's taking a $20 million hit, we presume, starting as soon as next year. So I don't know if you're going to be out here signing up to eat $62 million. Also, by the way, who you going to hire?
That was my question. And plus, like, I understand that LSU maybe hasn't achieved the standard that they wanted to when they hired Brian Kelly. Like, maybe he hasn't elevated the program to the heights that they wanted to when this hire was initially made. But Brian Kelly is still very much a top 10 coach in college football right now. He's a veteran. Top 15, that's not arguable. You can't argue against that, in my opinion. So he's still one of the better coaches in college football. So there's not much of a difference of better that you can get if you do let go of Brian Kelly. I understand the criticism that is around him. He hasn't exactly showed up in big games at LSU. He's losing games that he probably shouldn't at LSU. He's doing all things. The momentum seems to be shrinking on the recruiting trail as well. But there's not many names out there, if any names out there right now, that you could hire and immediately plug him in and you think that the program is going to get better.
Yeah. By the way, we got off to a weird start with the start of the show, but happy birthday, Jay Will.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I meant to write it in as soon as we started off, but that's on me. Happy B-Day, my boy.
Appreciate it.
But no, I mean the who do you hire thing is always going to be, you just hire the next best available person. But history states that it doesn't really take much for them. Now, obviously, the 2021 start was abysmal for Ed Orgeron, and so was 2020 after that 2019 season. But LSU was 9-3 in 2015, and then they started 2-2 before they let Miles go in 2016. Les Miles, so it doesn't take a ton for them to pull the trigger on you. Now, I get $60 million is a talking point that'll kind of probably keep them, but 2025 could be a big year for Brian Kelly.
I just have a feeling if you can't win at LSU, it says a whole lot about you.
Mm-hmm.
They got,
Which is so
they got
funny.
grass eaters and swamp monsters winning natties.
Which is so funny because the whole mantra was like Brian Kelly consistently overachieved at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is not one of these powerhouses anymore, and he consistently had them at.
The Sherpa's a little hot.
I bet it is.
It is warm, yeah. He consistently had them at 10-2, 11-1, had them in national titles, had them in playoff games. Like Notre Dame consistently overachieved with Brian Kelly, and it feels like LSU is consistently underachieving. Now, granted, they're in year 3 of the Brian Kelly experience, in a year where they won the West in year 1 and had a Heisman winner in year 2. So, like, to say they've underachieved horribly is unfair to him, but it certainly hasn't been what the standard was at this year.
Well, and I think, too, like, what's kind of happening at LSU is one of the main reasons why many believe that Brian Kelly's shift to the SEC and to LSU would not work out. Of the gauntlet and the schedule that you have to go through at Notre Dame, we're seeing it this year, to make a playoff spot, to be in the top 10, to be in the top 5, is completely different than it is in the SEC, especially when you add in teams like Texas and Oklahoma. And especially, I mean, it was hard enough when you're in the Western Division, but now, especially when there is no divisions, you're just competing against the top of the SEC in general. So I think like that's kind of coming to fruition, especially this season.
And it's not just the grind of the SEC schedule; it's the grind of having to recruit in the SEC. Like that was his first problem when he came in. He said, "Man, I didn't realize how hard the recruiting was," and that was the family and all the cringy dancing TikTok videos that he got.
Did he really not think it was hard?
Well, I don't think he didn't. I don't think he didn't think it was hard. I think it was more he didn't realize how much of a challenge it would be, and that was what he talked about. He's like, "It's exhausting work. You never stop." So. I think that's starting to show now where he's in year 3 and he's still struggling to finish and get these guys that you really need in your classes.
Speaking of